We did some show prep before we jumped on in our conclusion, Sherrod.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good. Celtics are pretty good. I mean,
it's 20 wins.
I'm not going to call it ho-hum. It's not like everything was easy, but you're on the second night of a back-to-back. You're missing 3 of your top 7 players. And yes, I'm going to keep counting Rob in that group because he's close, but it's the reality. They're without 3 of their top 7 rotation players. They're starting, the ghost of Blake Griffin, who again, I think they have unlocked the secret sauce with Blake, which is you put him in mothballs, except for those second night of a back-to-back. When Al sits, you start him, and he gets all of the power-up energy, and all of a sudden, he's Blake from 5 or 6 years ago, and he can dunk and do all of these fun things, and that's...
Yeah, sounds like you're cracking in and out, John, a little bit.
I feel better about it now. How about now?
I think it's better.
Yes, that's it. And you get good Blake, and again, ho hum, Raptors, a contender, Bobby's favorite team. It's no contest. It's no contest against the Celtics. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know where you want to start there. Offense, Blake, Raptors.
Yeah, Jimmy, you just come right in, buddy. Just come right in.
Those are my 3 thoughts out of this one too. Raptors gave them a ton of trouble. Early on, it looked like they had all the formulas for making it difficult on the Celtics and frustrating them, and everybody's whining about the officials, and they're drawing all these free throws and turnovers, and it looked like the Celtics were going to be in real trouble in this one. But that 3-point shot flew up. They don't fall back to earth from 3. They shoot right back up to the moon. Every time they start a game, like 28% from 3, they're back up by 40 by the end of it. That happened again in this one. And then Blake, what can you say? Like, I'm almost ready to do the apology cam with him. I didn't like the signing at all. I didn't think he was going to be able to provide anything. He looks great. Like, that plan you just talked about, John, I've never seen anything like it. I don't even know what to compare it to in a different sport. He's like a pinch hitter or something. He just comes in. He's like Albert Pujols on the Dodgers or something. Just you bring him in, and he's ready to hit some home runs after not playing for 2 weeks, and he looks great. Like, this was a phenomenal game from him.
Well, I mean, forget about the whole not playing for a couple of weeks. I mean, this guy looked like he was on the basketball doorstep of death a couple years ago, where it just seemed it was done. That it was just a matter of like minutes before his basketball career was over. And now he looks like, I wouldn't say a younger Blake Griffin than what we've seen the last couple of years. The things that he's able to do, you're having more flashbacks to when he was all-star Blake Griffin now than you did in his last couple of stops. And again, to me, he's an example of what can happen when you are the right fit with the right organization and you're given the right amount of time to get your body right. It's amazing. It's amazing what coming to Boston has done for him.
But not forget about it. Like, you see him do those things that turn back the clock stuff, the dunk here. It's the freaking grittiness that, like, is super impressive. I mean, we know
he can really rebound.
We know his stats with the charges, so he's obviously willing to, when his legs left him and he was no longer a leaper, he started to kind of lean into that draw charges sort of thing. I mean, his numbers for that were ridiculous. He was like first in the league while only playing 12 minutes a game or something obscene. But he's hitting the deck on loose balls. His ability to box out and to get in there and to rebound there, really, really important. He's going into those dirty places, like he's doing grunt work. So that that's a big lift, especially when you run into second night of a back-to-back. Everyone's dragging. Someone's saying I'm crackling. Am I still crackling?
Still a little bit.
A little bit.
Huh, all of my connections are good.
You sound good to me, John.
Sorry about that. But people are dragging a little bit second night of back-to-back. He just comes in and just, boom, a jolt of energy. And then by all accounts, he's the most beloved teammate, like any of these guys have ever had. That can't be understated. They legit love him, and you guys are around the team a lot, so I mean, I know you see it, but like the comrade, that's not fake stuff. That's not like Kyrie pretending that he's got friends on the bench, you know, when they're blowing a team out and like laughing, and everyone's like, "Yeah, we're not boys, but that's fine." You know, like this is legit. Like they like each other. You know.
You know what it is, John. Though I think what separates him, I think from we'll just use Kyrie as an example, is that when he's in the locker room with these guys, there's an actual exchange where he's saying something, giving his thoughts, they're saying something, giving their thoughts, and he's chiming in on what they're saying. He actually has conversations as opposed to, death stares. And the whole, if the young guys need to do X, Y, Z. He doesn't do that. And I think that's why he's beloved so much. And if you can have those kind of conversations with guys and then step out on the floor, push back the hands of time a little bit and remind them that what they're seeing now is glimpses of what they remember when they were like yay big. Yeah. And he was, doing chin-ups at, in Oklahoma.
But that's the thing. When you've got that old guy who does that kind of stuff, that makes you feel better because he's like, as opposed to being either patronizing or like didactic, like I'm going to tell you, I'm going to impart my wisdom on you and you should learn, young whippersnapper. Right. For better or for worse, we know how Kyrie dealt with the kids when he was here. But even a guy like Marcus Morris, like people don't want to be disappointed, like want to know that dad is disappointed in them all the time. Blake's just in there like, this is great. I love you guys and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I mean, Jimmy, I can't remember where you were on the Blake stuff. Bobby thought it was a waste. I shrugged my shoulders in the same regard. Like, I don't think they're going to get anything out of him.
It was a meh move to me. I thought it was meh.
But meh. Where were you on it, Jimmy?
I thought it was I thought it was strictly a locker room move. I thought that it was clear that Tatum was a big fan of Blake's, from a personal standpoint. And I thought that was probably one of the reasons why they signed him. It's like, all right, if this is going to make Tatum happy and this is going to make some of the guys a little bit looser in the locker room, that's fine. I mean, Blake Griffin's a proven veteran, a guy who's looking for a championship. I didn't know what he had left to give. I mean, we all watched him in that series against the Celtics, and you almost kind of felt bad for the guy. He was being asked to do so much. But this is the perfect role for him. And credit to him for adapting his game and knowing what he has to do to get on the court and stay in the court, because he knows that, like somebody like, for example, like Carmelo Anthony. Did Carmelo really ever do... could he have done more to adapt his game a little bit? Maybe he'd be in the league somewhere, on a team somewhere. I know he's talented enough, but I think what Carmelo does best is shoot the ball and shoot in high volume, and that just doesn't fit on a lot of these teams anymore. That's not his role. So Blake, a guy that used to be a number one option or a number two option, flying through the air and 18-footers, three-pointers, whatever, now kind of understands where he fits on this team. And I think it did take a few weeks for him to maybe get into the shape he needed to get in, so that's why the first couple of
Oh, we lost Jimmy now. I'm not getting any Jimmy. So, I think
you're kind of picking. Go ahead, Bobby.
I think everything you said there about the locker room point holds. Like, we're in there, Sherrod. I think everything you said, you hear him. You're in there and you're hearing Blake Griffin. And he was so important when Peyton Pritchard got demoted. Like, I think that's the story of Pritchard's season, is that he gets demoted. He was clearly frustrated. Clearly felt like maybe I don't have a role on this team. I'm going backwards. Maybe I'm not going to be able to work my way up that ladder again. And Blake just got in his ear. And they obviously had a past relationship that Blake talked about. We explained on this show. And if you have Blake Griffin, who, to Jimmy's point, finding a role and being willing to sit, that's what separates you from the Melos and these other guys that I think want roles on teams. Russell Westbrook, whoever else is in this late stage of your career. You need to be willing to sit down and not play. Like, that's the key to fitting in on a team. And credit the Celtics. Like, I don't know who deserves credit for that. Finding this spot start role for him. It seemed weird when they first started doing it, and then it gained a little momentum. And then these last two games, he looks so good in it. And he's not going to play in garbage time. They're not going to do that to him.
Well,
he's going to take nights off, get his body right, and then he's going to come back out and hit the ground running.
Yeah, I think, Bobby, part of it is that the things that we're talking about the spot starting role and not playing garbage minutes, I think those are things that were negotiated before he signed. Because those are the kind of things that have been really consistent from the very outset of his time in Boston. And I don't think that just happened by happenstance that things kind of worked out that way. I think that was something that they talked about on the front end so that it would be a way of Blake preparing himself for what he was getting into. And if you're Blake Griffin at this point in your career, I'm playing on a really good team. I'm going to get some starts, and they're not going to throw me out there during garbage time when, I shouldn't be out there. I need to be preserving my energy and strength for when they really need me.
It's the opposite of 2019. You have so many guys on this roster, so much talent, and everybody has a place. There's not all this conflict and friction with guys not playing.
Right. And the thing about Blake that surprises me though is that for a guy that did so many different things when he was at the peak of his game, to basically downsize all of that and just be a spot duty role player where you may play some nights, you may not play others, and when you do play, they're not going to be calling your number. You're going to have to basically hustle for loose balls. You're going to have to defend, which is something that I wouldn't say it's been his biggest weakness, but it's definitely not a strength. He's actually been relatively serviceable in that regard, which to me that has been one of the big revelations about Blake. But the bottom line is he's figured out a way to impact the game in a positive way and make the most of the minutes that he gets. And to your point, Bobby, he's a great example for Peyton Pritchard to follow because that's exactly what Blake is doing. He's getting limited opportunities to play, but when those opportunities come, he's making the most of it. And if you're Peyton Pritchard, you see that and you're like, okay, I can probably do that too.
Test.
Yeah,
How do I sound?
Loud and clear.
Lost Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy's out again. Yeah, he's gone.
Wait.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Am I good? No
You're
more.
good.
No more crackling.
I can hear every breath you take.
I'm switching.
In every
out
move he
settings.
makes.
Yeah. I switched out mics. Jimmy, why don't you talk? I just want to make sure I could talk.
Dude, I was talking. I don't know what happened. I got cut off too when you got.
Jimmy got literally cut off in mid-sentence.
I don't have to talk.
What was the last thing you guys heard?
Oh God, we forgot, Jimmy. You were
talking a little bit about his locker room presence, right?
Something,
I'm not going to go over it again.
Sure, I'll do an apology, Kim. That's the last thing we heard.
Yeah, no. For what? No, I mean, I don't want to repeat my whole. I don't know where I got cut off, but basically, I was saying that I think everyone knows the type of. Well, I'm not going to say we know the type of guy he is, but I think based on what we've seen from him on the court and off the court, everyone knows he's a good locker room guy, and he's a guy that everywhere he's gone has seemed to make friends along the way, and I think that was very important for the Celtics. One of the things they focused on this offseason was bringing in talented people, but making sure they have good people on the roster, off the court. Guys that get along with each other, guys that seem to care about each other, have good camaraderie. That's important. The 08 team, those guys all loved each other. That was a really close team. Ubuntu, all that stuff that they talked about, all the way up until they won the championship. You need to be close on the court and off the court. And I think Blake Griffin's a good bridge for that, whether it's like you guys were talking about with Peyton Pritchard or his friendship with Tatum. He's been around the league. He's been around a lot of superstar players. And the thing I appreciate about him is that he's adapting his game as he gets older. He knows that he can't be the same Blake Griffin that, a few years into the league that he was. And he's finding a role. He's accepted his role. And I think that, a night like tonight's perfect. We talk about how we can come in and spell guys, give guys breathers when they need it, step in a situation where a guy's out. Brogdon's out tonight. And this is a situation where there's minutes that need to go around, and he's a player that steps up huge for them. So it's great to see because teams are coming for the Celtics. The Raptors brought it tonight in the first half. The Celtics have a target on their back, and I got to give them credit for the way they came out in that third quarter. Tatum and Smart, I don't know if we've even mentioned Smart yet, but he had an awesome third quarter. Just the energy that he brings to this team, it's contagious, and I think that they really fed off him tonight too.
Yeah, we were on that Smart thing yesterday. I think the chat got on him a little bit. They were saying, oh, look, he's not out there, and look at how great they've... He comes back, everything changed. The movement, finding different spots on the floor. He just had a passing masterclass again in this one, and he's the best passer on the team by far.
I mean, again, I don't know. He's a good passer. It's just he settles them, and we talked about it yesterday. And again, I don't know where people were. We've all criticized Smart at different times.
He's such
for
an easy.
things,
I still go back to that Jalen tweet about the disrespect. I'm like, Just go to Smart and ask him about how he handled it, because no one's gotten disrespected more than Smart in his time
No
in
doubt, but
Boston.
like there's a version of everyone knows the Smart that we don't love to see. The one that gets a little bit loosey goosey, careless with some of his passes and tries to fit them into tight windows or be fancy. So when he kind of does that, or when he's taking contested shots or forcing the issue early in the clock, sometimes there's nothing wrong with what Marcus has been doing the majority of this year offensively, and the Marcus effect versus from last night to tonight, where last night was just all ISO, 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 ISO. The ball was moving again a lot better tonight, and your assist totals up around 27 assists. He's making passes. He was attacking the interior with some of his passes, getting the ball into Tatum at the free throw line so they could get kind of better, closer opportunities, as opposed to just trying to beat these guys off the dribble. And you've got a couple good defenders on Toronto. Last thing you want to do is go ISO on these guys. They're long. They can be a pain in the ass. OG is a terrific one-on-one defender. That's not how you want to play against these guys. So Smart completely changed the complexion of it from the type of offense they played last night.
And took a lot of pressure off of the rest of the ball handlers. I mean, Tatum had 9 turnovers, last night. He had 4 tonight. And granted, 4 is not a great number, but I don't think it's a coincidence that Marcus' return coincides with Tatum's turnovers going down significantly. And you look at Jaylen Brown. Jaylen didn't have a single turnover. I don't think he had a single turnover tonight.
Two nights in a row.
2 nights in a row. 2 nights in a row, right. And so
he's on such a tear.
Which is amazing, because I swear it looked like he drove into nowhere land like 100 times tonight. But amazingly, it didn't result in turnovers. He did, he ended up with a couple of not great shot attempts out of the thing, but it's not quite a turnover. There was a couple wild moments, but again, it's that loose dribble stuff. He hasn't done it the last couple of games.
Oh boy, it was tinkering on that edge.
Rockin' Wi-Fi.
I thought he was
legend
gonna
lives.
fight through it.
I think Josue got John tonight.
Josue is always with us. He did. I literally had to move to a different location just to get away from Josue, because for whatever reason, my Wi-Fi works so much better when I was away from Josue. But that's another story.
All right, what was the Smart effect
like a
tonight,
stench.
Sherrod?
No, say that again, Bobby.
I said, what was the Smart effect tonight? What impact did he play?
The biggest thing, Marcus, he just affects the game on so many levels. But I thought, just from an energy standpoint, I thought they got certainly a nice boost from him. But playmaking, I mean, that's the one part about Marcus's game that there's been a lot of question marks throughout the course of his career. But I think sometimes we forget the fact that Marcus has played with a multi all-star pretty much every year he's been at his position. So it's not like so when you think about the guys that he has had to basically play second fiddle to, when you talk about Kyrie Irving in his prime, Kemba Walker, Isaiah Thomas, there has been someone better at playmaking for most of his career. And the last couple of years, he's finally got a chance to kind of break out and show what he could do when given an opportunity to be that lead guard. And I don't think it's coincidence that, again, the Celtics, since the last couple of years, looking at last season and where they are now, this is probably the best stretch that this franchise has had since Marcus became a Celtic. 2 wins away from getting an NBA title, and now you've got the best record kind of running away with things a little bit in the NBA. And Marcus's playmaking has a lot to do with that. And he's just playing the game the right way. I mean, he's not forcing nearly as many bad shots. He's still going to have those moments, because that's just who Marcus is. But they're fewer and farther between now than we've seen in the past. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Marcus is recognizing the fact that when he's on the floor, he's usually around at 3 or 4 guys who can score the ball as well or better than he can. So if that's the case, you figure out what the hell you can do to help the team. And for him, it's setting those guys up. It's getting the ball in position where they can be effective. And knowing that if things are moving the way they should offensively, the ball is going to find its way back to you for a wide open shot.
He saved Tatum's game tonight. I thought Tatum struggled so much early, over dribbling, indecisiveness against the passing lanes. The Raptors were all over those and forcing turnovers. And Smart, you're just able to dump it to him, and he can set up a play on the fly. He's so creative. I think we've used that word to describe him before in terms of how he sets up offense. Him and Tatum have this nice feel for each other in the 2-man game. And they just ran that into the ground in that third quarter. What was the third? 35 to
18
something ridiculous there. 35 to 18. That was maybe their best quarter all year. And so much of it was Tatum-Smart two-man game. It was dominant last year. It's still dominant this year whenever they pull it out. Tatum screening for Smart, rolling, cutting, and Smart finds him. He's such a good passer.
I think Smart is a lot more comfortable and confident with who he is as a basketball player.
Yes.
And he's not forcing things as much. He's not trying to do things outside of what he should be doing. And yeah, he took 8 threes tonight. And that's just honestly something that I think we just need to come to expect now. It's the new NBA. Guys are going to be shooting threes way more often than, 10 years ago even. So that's fine. I mean, he hit 4 of them. So no one's going to complain with 4 for 8 from 3. So, I mean, it's completely fine. But, Bobby, you touched on it, or Sherrod, you touched on it. Just the fact that he's out there playing with guys like Tatum and Brown, established scores. He doesn't need to go out there and try to score 25 points a game. He needs to score or he needs to shoot when it makes sense to, but he really needs to facilitate, get the guys in position where they need to be, pace them. If John said, kind of like set the tempo a little bit out there, and be the energy guy. He took an awesome charge in a really key moment tonight off of a pass. I think it was from Siakam. Just some great plays in that third quarter.
That was a big play. Yep.
Big play. That's Marcus Smart's game, and I think he knows that's his game. He's not trying to be somebody that he isn't anymore, and I think we all know what to expect when he takes the court. At least we all should. And if you don't understand his worth by now, and I've criticized him over the years, of course, nobody can say they haven't. But if you can't understand his worth and the whole winning plays spiel, then you just aren't paying attention, because it's fairly obvious when he's on the court what he's able to do to unlock some of these guys out there.
So the one thing I'll say is, if we're going back to the beginning of, let's say, November, he's kind of on fire from 3, over 40%.
Yeah.
We know that's not him. So when that comes
kind
down
of
to
slowly
earth,
is becoming him a little bit, though.
when that comes down to earth, I'll be interested to see how they adjust. But again, this is me in the 3s this year. Like, how much do they cover up other issues? At what point does that come down there? It just doesn't seem like it's gonna. And I haven't loved the amount.
It is a little. But because it's unsustainable. Like, Al's not shooting 47, White's not shooting 44, Grant's not going to shoot close to 50.
40.
Smart's not going to be 40. It's going to come down, because it has to come down, because it's never really happened where, all of these guys are shooting well past their career averages. So what you hope is doesn't come crashing down, but then also you may see other people come up a little. And so really it's more a matter of the quality of shots that they're getting right now and getting them in the flow of the offense than it is just guys just kind of just jacking it because they can't get any sort of offense going, and they're just rotating the ball around the perimeter until somebody has to shoot, I feel like that's what it was more in the past, whereas now it's like, we got our shot. That's the shot we wanted. And they keep going to it. Even games where when they go into little funks, they'll keep doing it and keep shooting, and then they shoot their way out of it. Their worst games, they're shooting low 30s from 3. Like, that was very commonplace before. I mean, it's just, it has to come down. It has to come down. But I do wonder how
Law
far.
of averages.
It has to. What we do also, one thing we have to do, and we're happy to do, is talk about our new one of our new sponsors, and that is.
This is new. Open your ears.
Okay. Is that the code?
That's our guy. You know about it?
Pat's Beat?
Huh?
Is that the super?
Oh,
there
it's the
go.
Garden.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Sorry, it's a sponsor of a couple different pods. So, Rocket Money. Anybody know about Rocket Money?
Rocket Money.
I actually have heard of it.
So, it's incredibly useful if you're like me or everybody else who has probably 85,000 subscriptions to things you completely forgot about. And
Bobby's got a few.
Right. So this is a company. It's formerly known as Truebill.
Jimmy loves that joke.
I'm talking a ton of things. Right now, they say there's 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about, whatever that is. Most people probably think they spend about $80 a month in subscriptions. The total is actually like closer to 200, which means you've just got stuff buried. You signed up about and you just forgot about. So what do? You download this app, Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, and what does it do? It kind of consolidates all of this stuff for you, and you're like, oh, yeah, I need to get rid of half of this stuff. So You can get a free subscription or you can upgrade a little bit and you can really clean out a lot of your stuff. But if you do go check it out, go to rocketmoney.com/garden. You could literally save hundreds of dollars per year. It is absolutely worth checking out. I guarantee if you're like me, this is an issue. You have a ton of stuff you have no idea about.
Bucks.
Check it out, rocketmoney.com/garden. Make sure to check that out for us.
Just make sure you don't cancel your comm subscription. You don't want to accidentally cancel the wrong thing.
What you don't want to do is by any means cancel this subscription to Calm, the number one mental wellness app. We will give Calm some love as well. We've got too many sponsors right now. We'll get to Athletic Greens a little bit later, but we will tell you about Calm since Jimmy brought it up. Curated music tracks, imaginative sleep stories, nature sounds, what have you, different things to help you get your mind and body right, let you relax, let you get to where you need to, guided meditations, all of that stuff. It's great. If you go to calm.com/garden, receive 40% off a premium subscription. Go get yourself some Calm right now. And again, you sign up for anything, literally anything we're advertising on the Garden Report. Somebody got it. I didn't want to put their address. Somebody send me a DM of the package arriving today with Nick's scrawled in crayon handwriting on it.
Is it really? That's so good.
It's
that's perfect. Did he? So he got the package and it
somebody
came
got it
as
and
advertised.
They said to me, they showed the thing with the whatever on it. So the first batch has arrived, which is great.
They're out in the wild now. We might start seeing them in public.
Yeah, we will be selling these as well on our store. But if you want an easy, fast ticket to it, honestly, get yourself a Calm subscription or an AG1 subscription anyway. Why not? And then cash in on those goods and get the T-shirt. It's just free, free T-shirt right there. If you were interested in buying it, check out one of the sponsors. Maybe it jives with you. We talked about Blake. We talked about Smart. Nice to see Tatum have a little bit of a bounce back. He kind of been a little funky for a couple of games. It's not a big deal. A little bit funky, even though he ended up with 29 points last night. Had the 9 turnovers. Since that 49-point explosion in that first game in Miami, particularly first quarter starts, I was looking at the numbers. He had, in his first stint, he'd scored only 1 basket. He came back in, he knocked down a 3. He's got 8 points in the first quarter of his last 3 games. So he's kind of gotten into that little slow start sort of mode. But he definitely picked it up, second quarter on. And obviously, Bobby, as you said, in the third quarter, the 2-man game was Smart, and they really took it over there and kind of put the game not out of reach, but comfortably, where they wanted it to be.
Yeah, and I dove into the film from last night, and there was even, I think, worse, trying to attack mismatch and isolation, all those different habits popping up than we talked about. It was bad. So I thought there was a bit of that early in this game. Too much dribbling. I was surprised he wasn't getting off the ball, letting some other guys handle it and set him up because, man, those Raptors are disruptive. They were throwing the double teams. They were trapping. They were flying into random directions. And the turnovers just started flying. I think there were 4 in the first quarter, 7 within the first couple minutes of the second. It wasn't all him, but he was sort of at the point of attack during that stretch. And then once he gets off ball and they start opening up the transition game and getting into a better flow with those quick shots, that's still so key to them avoiding turnovers. They've settled down, and they only finished with 11 turnovers in this one, and 7 of those came really early. You talked about Brown's clean game, and Tatum played a pretty clean game after that rough start too. Super efficient, threes are flying, making really tough shots against this great Raptors defense. I think Toronto came in 7th defensively. They obviously have a million guys that they can throw at you, whether it's Siakam or OG, or even their guards are good defensively. So this was impressive stuff from him. Feels like he can adapt and manage through some struggles and not fade out of a game. And, man, his ability to stick his nose into plays, this is what I think really brings him to another level. Like, he was struggling early, and he's in there blocking shots and chasing rebounds and getting that big putback and throwing it down over OG. This is the kind of Tatum you need to beat a Raptors-like team in a series, because I was worried coming into this game. I thought a team like the Raptors could really knock them off their game.
You're always worried with the Toronto. Let me ask you this, because, again, Bobby, you said you jumped into the film, and we talked about this last night. Does anybody is anybody like? I guess when you're watching a team play at the level the Celtics are playing at, particularly with the offense kind of humming the way it is and the 3-pointers, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop or them to, you know, turn into a pumpkin, or something to change, to revert back to whatever it is. And that's why every time I see one of those games like the other night where they do that ISO ball stuff, I really kind of get, this crazy PTSD, like, oh, no, you don't still want to do that, right? Like, you've seen how much better it is when you don't do that. Is any fear that you revert to that either against good competition or, later on in the season, or obviously it's a long way off, but into the playoffs where it's just kind of like you get back into that habit of like just give Tatum the ball and get out of the way? I always feel like that's something that could happen again, and I want desperately for it not to happen. Sherrod?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you have to be on guard about, because we've seen time and time again the Celtics will have a recipe for success, and then they'll just decide arbitrarily to just switch up the batter and try to create some other shit that doesn't work. I do
They
worry
even
about
slipped
that.
up a little bit late.
Yeah, but my concern
Late in the game today, yes.
my concern for them now at this point is just that they don't get bored. I mean, they're getting pretty much everything they want. And my concern is that they'll hit stretches during games where they'll just be bored and just try some stuff that just puts them back into that, doing a lot of the things that we know don't work long term, don't have any type of sustainability. But it's different, and they've got a 15-point lead. What the hell? I'm going to go 1-on-3 because I've done 1-on-3 before. I worry about those things with him, because there was a moment in this game where Jalen got a great offensive rebound and everyone is just starting to move up the court and he's trying to attack, and he gets bailed out because there were three defenders that were in his path, and he got fouled. But all he had to do at that point, because it was in the fourth quarter, was just get the rebound, pull it out, and just run some half-court offense, or wait till your teammates are ready to run with you. Little things like that we saw so much of last year, not nearly as much this year.
Not nearly as much, which is why it's always okay, because you're not seeing it in trends, and you're not seeing it, it's, you're a superstar. You're like, I could, like, Tatum coming off the 49 must have been like, I am king. What? Like, nobody's messing with me right now. You do get that little bit of air and invincibility. And when you're Jaylen Brown and you're just literally just speeding by people, rising up over people, creating buckets out of nothing all the time, it's got to kind of feel like I can just do this whenever I want, right? So there is a little push and pull there, because you do want them to attack. You want them to be aggressive. You want them to have the ball in their hands, but you're also trying to protect against falling into kind of those old patterns.
I want to go over that late stretch there, because they go up 12,
and they got stuck on one. They got stuck on 113 for a long time.
They launched 4 straight jump shots, and an offensive foul in there too. And the Raptors just made a couple key mistakes that bailed them out.
The out of bounds
throws, the out of bounds pass. I think Jimmy mentioned the steal Smart got on Siakam. So they got a little fortunate there late. I think it got within 5, and then Blake ended up putting in.
It was the 3-minute stretch. It was the 3:30 mark when they hit 113, and they didn't get that Blake tip-in, which was very fortunate, until 26 seconds left. So they went from 3:29 to the 26-second mark without anything.
Yeah. So
because of that. Yeah.
That's where this great offense and all the attention to detail they're putting into creating great shots becomes launching and settling, and that's where you will see your 3-point percentage come down to earth and go into those cold spells. And they've had a few of those. Certainly the Miami loss.
But again,
I think there was a cold stretch against Brooklyn too, and that one there. You don't want to blow a game like that. Unfortunately, they tightened up.
Second night of a back-to-back, and 3 of your, I'm not an excuse guy, but it's still second night of a back-to-back, and you feel you've got this game in hand, and 3 of your stars each played 39 minutes tonight. So, a little bit of fatigue would be expected at some point. But yeah, it was that was one of those bad lapses where it's like, guys, literally one bucket wins this. Like, let's go, just focus and get it.
Yeah, they luckily Blake got to the line there and did he hit 1 of 2? It was still like
one the first,
possession. Yeah. But yeah, I think even the broadcaster's like, okay, I guess we do need to score here because it's been like 3 minutes. They had that issue a lot last year. I'm seeing it a whole lot this year. It feels like they've been able to execute a lot better down the stretch. I'm not concerned about it. It happens, like you said, John, second night of a back-to-back, couple players short. They got a few nights off here, right? Right? They don't come back until, is it Thursday?
Just one night off.
No,
Wednesday.
they're Wednesday. They're flying to Phoenix right now.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
Missed that.
You've got a few nights off, but
I've got a few.
don't.
I will not be out for that one.
Yeah, we don't. Bobby and I don't. You do. You do. Jimmy doesn't.
Bobby,
Jimmy's got the contract. No West Coast, no weekends.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
I'm asleep. I'm asleep before this game ends on
Me,
Tuesday. Unfortunately.
Bobby, and Timmy Shields. That's who's going to be awake right now. Producer.
Hey, well, I'll be on the West
baby.
Coast for the 3 after that.
Yeah, and then Bobby's covering all of those.
Nice.
Yeah, so that'll be a better feeling. I think those started.
Bob, who are you
that's
a little
regular
bit-
time?
Who are you more afraid of after the last couple games we've seen? The Heat or the Raptors?
I always have a respect for these Raptors. Like, I think they're just gonna be there. They're gonna coach something up. They got a lot of good players. Their roster's better than the Heat. Again, I look at the Heat roster and I'm just like, Jamal Cain, Orlando Rubs. Have you ever even heard of these guys, Jimmy?
No, that Highsmith guy. That Highsmith
Highsmith.
guy legitimately didn't exist until the Celtics played him.
Yeah, that guy was
You're
just
at 7.
created
He's
in a
not even
lab
healthy.
before
He
the
was
game.
conjured. Yeah.
I can't get past that sometimes. I know those guys are good and they're coached up and it's a system, but Hero's running the attack. Jimmy sometimes goes a quarter without shooting. I don't get it. Like, I still don't get the Heat thing, even though they've been to the finals and brought you right down to that last
They're
shot
tough
last
as
year.
nails.
So they're
Yeah,
both
they just
tough.
turn it on in the playoffs.
They're just
That's-
tough, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think this.
Have you not seen enough of them over the years to
Right.
appreciate that for real? Like I'm the same. Like, go back to the bubble. This is again, Optimist John and Optimist Jim are like, dude, the Heat suck. You know,
This
like
is
we
gonna be a
couldn't see
steamroll. Yeah.
steamroll them. The Celtics are so much more talented. These guys suck. And like, oh, they should have won this game, and they should have won this game, and they should have won that game. And we refuse to see it the
But
entire
they were just being
series.
punked. Yeah, they were being
Yeah.
out toughened like the whole time. They were
And
being
then
punked.
over the years, it's impossible to not recognize just what they do, which is just they're there all the time, and they're friggin' tough. And Jimmy Butler is like a 10 times better player than I would have given him credit for 3 years ago because he just gets it done.
So you're going Heat over Raptors.
No question about it. Like, I like the Raptors, too, because I like Scotty Barnes. I like OG. Siakam's playing his best ball ever. Obviously, Van Vliet's slumping right now, but I like him a lot. There's talent there. But
Who are you
come
taking,
on.
Sherrod?
It's the Heat.
Oh, I'm taking Miami. And one that they've got, they play the brand of basketball with their group that can win you a championship. And you say, well, Toronto won a championship too. But there's one significant ingredient that was in that formula that is no longer there.
Yes.
And we know he goes by the name of Kawhi Leonard. So Miami,
Jimmy
I
Butler's
think.
the big guy there. Yeah, he gets
Well, he is.
That guy, I don't think there's a single player that raises his game into the playoffs quite like he does. He becomes like a top 5, 10 guy.
Yeah.
Well, and during the regular season, he will give you a 5 to 7 minute stretch, usually near the end of the game and in overtime, where he is, if not the best player on the floor, he will be the most impactful player on the floor. We've seen that. We've seen that movie time and time again. Does that mean that you trade for him? No. You just recognize and acknowledge the fact that he's really good in those moments. But the thing about it, the way the Celtics are being built, you can play Miami and never ever have to see that Jimmy Butler because you'll be winning by enough to where that guy's impact is going to be negated by what you've already accomplished and what you've already been able to do in that game. So, Jimmy's good. Miami, I just think Miami's a better team than Toronto if you're talking about postseason ability to move on.
Yeah.
I'm
close,
torn on this. I'm torn.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually give the edge. This is surprising myself, but I think I'm going to give the edge to the Raptors. I just think they're a better team. But like at the same time, I would do not sleep. You just can't sleep on the Heat. I just think the Heat needs so much from Jimmy Butler. I just don't know how long he can continue to give that. I mean, he really went balls to the walls Friday night. I just don't know how many playoff series you can expect him to play like that. I don't know if they're deep enough, and I think the Raptors are a little bit deeper. They can kind of hurt you from a little bit more angles, whether it's Van Fleet, whether it's Siakam, OG. They've kind of got some numbers there. So
They got layers that they
yeah,
can hit you
exactly.
with.
I give the Raptors the edge, but I would respect both teams in a playoff series for sure.
I respect the East as a whole. It's good.
East is great. We're going to take a pause because anytime somebody drops a $50 super chat bomb on us, we're going to say, hey,
Jacob,
what's going
again,
on,
this
Jacob?
guy.
Again, this guy
Hey.
digging deep. And I do want
Is he on the Amazon truck right now? I think that's the same guy.
Jacob only deals in 50s. I do want to say to anybody, he does. He's just freaking flipping 50s out there.
He spent $50, and this is the question. Okay.
No, but I love this question. We're going to talk about it. But anybody who does throw in a super chat, we do greatly appreciate it. The money is distributed to the hosts of the show. It does not go in Nick Gelso's pockets for anybody who's worried that the miserly owner is just scooping it all up and taking it. No.
Goes in my rainy day fund.
It goes into hard hats. It goes into Wi-Fi. It goes into lunch boxes. It goes into Syracuse jerseys.
Hats.
Yeah, bucket hats.
Bucket hats.
That's the kind of stuff that you get out of it. So we'll ask. We'll ask for it. And yeah, exactly. Josue, he's got some extracurricular. Anyway.
Josue subscriptions.
JD Davidson and Kabengele. I don't think. Look, Kevin Gelly.
Kevin Gelly, dude.
Kevin Gelly.
Somebody called him Calvin Jelly in the chat the other night, and I was
Kevin Gelly.
It's Kevin
Gelly.
I
Right?
know,
Gelly.
but Calvin Jelly. I was giggling to myself for like an hour after the show.
He's the new Herman Gomez.
Friggin' Calvin Jelly got in the game. I
Let's
don't know.
read this.
I don't
Read
know
it
if
for
you
the
can answer it how they're
listeners.
looking in their development. I don't believe there is a Kevin Gelly development. I think he's a body. I do think they hope that J.D. Davison can turn into a player in a year or two, but I don't know in terms of like development because it's just not an opportunity to see much of them. So are you guys, like I said, Bobby, you're around the team a ton. Any thoughts on whether or not like there's a plan where these guys might actually be useful at some point during this year, or it's really, fill out the roster and maybe wait till next year?
I don't think either of them play, but if there's a wild emergency some night, I think they could step in for one night. Davison looks great in Maine. He's putting up some monster numbers down there. You always wonder what that means, but I like how they've put a good group together for his development, which includes Kabengele being a lob and pick and roll guy, because he really needs to expand his game as a playmaker, play against some older guys, be in a structure, because his season in Alabama was just a disaster. Like we talked about when they drafted him, there's no shot making, a lot of turnovers, very raw, but there's so much athleticism, and you got a elite prospect coming out of high school. It's almost like the Romeo situation where you're trying to rebuild him back to that form that he was when he came out of high school. And I'm encouraged. I love the summer league. I like what he's doing so far in Maine. But he's probably someone you look at after next year when Pritchard's a free agent and you might be looking to fill that back end point guard spot. There's no real significant future for him here in Boston, given where they're at as a championship team here in Indiana. He's still 19.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think the question pretty much is written in a way where he's not expecting him to fill in this year. He's saying 3 to 5 year type.
Yeah, he has a long window.
If they hold on to him that long, I mean, I could see him contributing in some respect. I mean, they drafted him for a reason. I think they drafted him because they think they can develop him a little bit more. Like you said, you can't teach athleticism, right? So that's something he's already got. You can work on his basketball IQ, and he can work on his shot, and
he can work on his shorts. You could teach him to wear them.
Those shorts. John hates those.
You could teach him to go from extra small to medium on his shorts too.
You don't like shorts?
I think that's something he could learn.
I will say, I'm glad someone.
They're like painted on.
Hey, he's got the quad. He's popping the quads. He's got the definition.
Sherrod spends more time shaking his head than he does speaking in the show. I do love this comment. I don't know why.
Who knew we'd get to Davison and Kabengele?
Why does
Gerard?
Why does Bob make goofy faces when Gerard? Now you're.
That's creative.
From now on, I'm calling you Sherrod Blakely.
How does
wow?
This chat methodically gets names wrong. It's unbelievable. You had to try to
throw some respect on his name, man.
That requires effort to screw it up. which I appreciate. It means you're working.
I
hard.
will
It means
say
you-
your name really brings out my Boston accent, Sherrod. I always got the Sherrod.
Bobby, you might as well tell your little, Kevin Durant anecdote. Kevin Durant's teasing Bobby. He's accent shaming him.
You know what it is? So I went up to him. We were leaving the presser, and I wrote about our little exchange in the article on CLNS last night. And I didn't get to ask a question during the presser, and I kind of wanted to introduce myself to him. He came out the door with me, so I held the door for him, and we're walking toward the buses, and I turned to him and I was like,
I got
"Hey,
him a
Kevin."
Gatorade and a towel.
I was like, "Hey, Kevin."
I'll tie his shoes for him.
I go, "Hey,
just don't give him a massage, okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
off.
Bobby.
Don't ask
Yeah,
for his
go,
hand
go.
size.
I go, hey, Kevin, Bobby from CLNS in Boston." And the Boston, I think, really came out with the accent. He goes, "Man, you got a thick ass accent." Like, you can just imagine Durant saying that.
Did you get your question in?
Yeah. After that, we walked over by the bus and I asked him about Jason, and we talked about that last night. Hit some of the comments he had about the team that the Celtics have put around Durant. Durant pretty cordial after our loss last night. I don't really know why he was kind of upbeat after that, but I was glad I got to have that quick exchange with him.
Yeah.
Did you
Hey,
tell him
wanna
that
fight about it?
Nick?
Yeah.
Did you have a message from Nick Gelso for him? Since they go.
No.
Good
on
call.
Twitter a couple times.
Yeah,
Good call.
Definitely not. We try to keep those two apart.
Yeah.
So it gets interesting, right? With the West coming up here, Phoenix is fun. It's a good team. I mean, you're gonna.
Did they win tonight? They got
They
killed,
were,
right?
They were getting beat up earlier.
Yeah, they're getting
I don't know if
smashed
they
pretty
did.
They're
bad.
down 24.
24. Yeah, with about a minute and a half to play.
To the Mavs.
Yeah. That's
Warriors
an
down 14 to
Yeah, I
Jimmy's
think that's an L.
Pacers.
The Pacers. Let's check out the Neesmith box score. Why not? Let's check it out. Neesmith, 4 minutes. 1 for 1. My guess is he picked up 2 quick fouls.
4
Yep,
minutes.
He picked up 2 quick fouls.
I really hope we obviously saw a Blake video tribute in Brooklyn.
3
last
fouls. He
night.
picked up 3 fouls in 4
3
minutes.
fouls. Jeez, that's so perfect.
But he made his only shot though,
But
John. He made his only
Is
shot.
any chance?
He injured 4 bystanders.
Any chance we
And
see a
himself.
Neesmith? Any chance we see a Neesmith video tribute when he comes back to
hope not.
Boston? Just him
I-
flying all over the
0.0.
place.
I think all they'll do is they'll just show him on the screen and say, "Welcome back, Neesmith," and then they'll do something across the ticker saying Celtics draft pick play in the years he played, and move it on and keep it moving.
You know what?
Yeah, they went a little
He'll
over
get
the
up
top
and
of
like
Blake
trip
last
or
night.
something.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing going back to the Kevin Durant stuff in defense of Kevin Durant, which I actually think is very commendable? Yeah, he threw a little bit of a fit over the offseason. He tried to get some people fired. He didn't want to be there anymore, even though
No big
like
deal.
he hadn't started it. No, I mean, look, everyone was criticizing that move. It's like, dude, you just got here. Like, you haven't even started your extension yet. You want to trade already? Like, and the whole idea of superstars moving. And he entered this season, again, compared to what other superstar athletes do when they've decided they don't want to be somewhere anymore, what he's done and his behavior is exemplary. He's gone. He's shut up about it. He's playing ball. He's playing extremely well. He's playing on both sides of the court. He's playing with a team that he knows are actually probably like a bunch of losers. He accepts defeat in kind of more of a gracious manner. Like you said, Bobby, he wasn't in like the worst mood. I think he's just kind of like, this is going to
Well,
suck.
you know what? He's
This
the
is
most
going to suck, but I'm
accountable.
going to write it out. But he's totally an accountable superstar.
He's
in
the most
sense-
accountable superstar ever.
Wow.
People give him so much crap about the Twitter thing.
Ever?
I've always loved it. Like, you can access Kevin
Can't
Durant
say it without
on
hyperbole. Yeah, that's fine.
He can't.
I mean, he goes out
In
and
the history of
I'm saying-
man.
I'm saying a couple.
We're all gonna
different
remember
things.
this moment.
Yeah.
I'm saying
In
a couple.
2072.
Let him go. Let him go.
I'm saying a couple of different things there because he explains that decision to ask for those firings, and I hated it. I thought it was absolutely disgraceful. I blasted him for it at the time, but he comes out and he does interviews and he answers for it. Then he comes back and has a second team All NBA season so far from my vantage point. He's leading them to wins, kind of trying to keep the ship right. He's answering pretty much every criticism of him and taking questions and
What about like throwing
Even that-
his teammates under the bus?
even
though?
that comment,
I
Jimmy.
still thought that
to
was.
John's point,
Yeah.
we want guys to be honest and open.
Yeah.
Like, And
You know
then
what
they
you're
do
dealing
it,
with
and
with
But
we.
you have to respect your teammates, Bobby. There's
I know,
two sides
but
to it.
There's two.
There's some things you just don't say. You might think
I
it.
agree.
It's a
It was-
long interview. That was maybe an inelegant way to put what he wanted to say, which is like, we know what's going on here. We're shorthanded right now. It's
But
hard
we
to
love
win.
that, and we pretend we
It's
don't.
hard to win under these circumstances. Then he named names. But if he didn't name names, he would have been like, well, look at the starting lineup. Or, yeah, we're short right now.
Or he could have just
and
said, we have a lot of work to do.
any
blah,
of
blah,
it is
blah,
an
just
illusion
like anybody
to
else.
a substandard raw. Kyrie arrived. He arrived in Brooklyn, and he was.
Oh, we'll
He
never
was
know.
what?
Wi-Fi strikes again.
See, when you say Kyrie, that's the trigger. We have a new security system here where you get booted off immediately.
What did Kyrie do when he arrived? I will say Kyrie the opposite. He wasn't taking any questions last night.
Well, that's to be expected. But I don't think anyone really thought Durant wasn't going to play basketball. I mean, this guy's that's
the
his
other thing. He
MO.
showed up.
That's all he wants to do is just play basketball. He's never really been into all the BS and the drama and everything off the court. He's just wants to show up and be a killer and then go home and do his thing. And it's unfortunate that it didn't work out, I guess, for him in Brooklyn because he was around so many guys where it's just like, whether it's Kyrie, whether it's Harden, whether it's Simmons, these guys can't just play basketball. There's too much other things going on. So, Durant's a little bit different in that way. So, if he ends up on another team at some point, whoever gets him is going to get a player who's still at the top of his game or is still a top player in this league and is still hungry to win. He wants to prove that he doesn't have to be on the Warriors to win.
I love him on Toronto.
I'm sure a lot of people.
I'm sure Toronto would love him on Toronto.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they could get him.
You got them. You got Miami if they could scrap something together. There's a lot. It's Phoenix still has 8 in once January comes around. There's destinations for them. I still don't love what's going on there. They looked respectful though last night, didn't they? Like that, it wasn't a disaster we watched in the playoffs. They were playing good defense. Vaughn seems to have things a little stabilized, but when you have Kyrie's play dissipating, when you have Ben Simmons on the bench with the sore knee and that thing sort of flatlining, you do still wonder, when's it going to come to a point where, never mind Durant, maybe the Nets look at it and say, all right, let's start looking to the future. Let's get those 7 picks from Phoenix. Mikal Bridges. All of a sudden, like the way it looks for Brooklyn now, it doesn't 7 picks and Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson look a little better. Even Ayton maybe from Phoenix look a little better than it did a couple months ago.
Yeah. I mean, the Celtics have, just when you start looking at just their team makeup, the options are so seemingly unlimited that they can do they can go in so many different directions. And there really isn't a whole lot you can do to stop them at this point.
Ben Simmons. John, you back?
Is John back?
Oh.
John's going through it tonight.
We had him and then we didn't.
Does Durant finish the year in Brooklyn, Sherrod?
Listen, I've had a few.
Yeah. He
You
will.
think so?
Yeah, he will.
Jimmy, you think?
I think he will too. I just think it's going to be more of it's an off-season type of a trade. It didn't happen this year,
right?
Or it didn't happen over this off-season. But it's just there's too many moving pieces. It's too big of a trade for Brooklyn to just get rid of him mid-season. I don't think they'd be able to maximize, their assets in that way. So I don't think he goes anywhere until the off-season.
No, and he'll go wherever he kind of wants to be in that direction. His camp will make that clear. You about to say something, Bobby?
I think he'll move. I think there'll be some opportunities that make sense for both sides eventually, and some stuff will free up. The trade date's coming up. The first one, December 15th. People start talking more. But it depends on where Brooklyn goes, right? Is Simmons going to be sidelined long term here? Is Kyrie's play going to keep dipping? They had actually won 5 straight coming into last night. So
I think it was either 4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah. So they were getting on track. Like I said, they look a little more stable. So you might be right, Sherrod. Maybe they play it out, see where they finish in the playoffs, and go from there. That would make a lot of sense too. But there's a lot of destinations this year where I think he would just fit right in and raise their team to a new level. Toronto, Phoenix. I don't think Miami will ever happen, but they're always going to be interested.
What about
And,
Boston? AA wants to know.
Yeah, Boston, you think about it, but you just have too good of a thing going here. You don't want to mess with it. So much depth. Even, to circle back to this game, how good were Hauser and Cornette and these guys deep off the bench again?
Cornette.
Short rotation, though.
Yeah, but they give you a good sprinkle
Only
of
8
minutes.
guys.
Hauser with that nice little attack, the closeout, go and finish reverse move early in the game. Those guys just come in and they do a little bit of everything, a little bit of something to help you. And, then they go back to the bench. But I don't know, those starter minutes, you're right, John, creeping up a little bit. That is something to keep an eye on this trip here. Good you're able to cycle Brogdon and Horford out. But those are really the only guys you're managing. Brogdon's been around the 20-minute mark. Horford's getting these back-to-backs off, but Brown plays a ton. Tatum plays a ton.
Yeah.
Horford plays a ton when he plays. So minutes are high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta say the Brockton Wi-Fi jokes are really hurtful when they're aimed at you.
Yeah, it's not good to be on that end of it.
It really does hurt. I'm fielding them and I'm like, ow. I have no defense.
I've had my fair share this year too. So
Listen, everyone has a bad night on that front.
I have no defense. For me, it's the entire house. I'm plugged into Ethernet here. I've blinked out twice. All internet.
Something's
everything.
going on over there. Last week it was the power. This week it's
you
the
blanked
Wi-Fi.
out. You were saying something about Kyrie, John. Where were you going?
Nothing. I
with
just remember when Kyrie arrived, he was basically his first press conference was like, when he arrived in Brooklyn, he's like, "We'll be great as soon as we get rid of all of these guys." That was literally the first thing he said. You talk about
we don't need a coach.
That was even before the coach stuff. He's
Yeah.
literally like, as soon as we kind of clean up some of this mess, we're gonna be great. And everyone's like, "Dude, I'm right here. I'm standing right next to you." We do want to say, in case I blink out again, it's like 2% of the world's population, gone. So I want to tell you one more time about one of our other sponsors before we wrap up the show, Athletic Greens. Everyone here on the Garden Report, we love it. athleticgreens.com/garden. If you go there, you get that gift on the screen. 1-year supply, vitamin D, 5 free travel packs. It's a one-stop shopping supplement where you have everything you need in one little scoop, 75 vitamins and minerals in a cup of water, and you're done for the day. You don't have to go shopping for a million pills of supplements elsewhere. It is approved by healthcare professionals, endorsed by celebrities, athletes. It is diet-friendly, has no sugar, helps with everything: mental clarity, gut health, awareness, mental acuity, basically everything that you're searching for, kind of all in one shot. Yep. So check it out again. As we said there, reclaim your health right now with Athletic Greens. AG1, go to athleticgreens.com/garden. Get that 1-year supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs. Get your phenomenal t-shirts. I'm no longer ashamed to say this is a real thing. They happened. They're real. We have them. We wore them. We sent them out. They are, in a word, phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
You can get one of those. You DM me with your address, your shirt size, and a receipt from any product you purchased that you saw sponsored here on the Garden Report, whether that's COM, if you get a premium subscription to the Rocket Money, or to AG1, you send that to me, and we will send you off a t-shirt. Guys, where were you? I didn't want to interrupt. I did want to just get that little sponsor read in there.
I don't.
Are we wrapping? Are we wrapping?
We were talking Durant. Pretty much, that was kind of where we were, and
any thoughts?
I think
on
you know what.
Oh, go ahead, Jimmy, to wrap that up.
Well, no, everyone wants to say, "Oh, Durant to Boston." I think if the Celtics lost that series to the Heat, you might be seeing Durant in Boston right now, but they didn't, and they're playing the best basketball in the league. Makes no sense to blow that up or to really ruffle it, and I just don't think. I think that ship has sailed with Durant. I don't think you're going to see him here in Boston, so I don't just.
Look at that! I'm going to pull the Jimmy again.
Anymore.
Look at that.
There it is. There it is.
T-shirts.
They do exist. I can't wait to get one someday. Maybe this year, hopefully.
No, we gave yours to paying customers, Jimmy. Okay. Yeah. But you're wearing the Legend sweatshirt, which is a former sponsor.
I'm still repping the sponsors here.
Oh, that was a great sponsor.
I still have that. Yeah, I still have mine.
A lot of my shirts. Get the shirts.
I have a couple more.
Yeah, I like those.
We need a couple more T-shirt designs too for the season once we get the phenomenals out there.
I think Brockton Wi-Fi's up next. We got our logo. We'll have some
Dirk,
good stuff coming.
I always forget what
I
time
want
it
a
is in
hard hat. I
Australia.
need a hard hat shirt for the playoffs. People are in the
Give me a
chat.
hard hat.
People in the chat keep saying, "Where's your hard hat? Where's your hard hat?" That's
Dirk,
only
what are
for
you
the
doing?
playoffs.
It's like the afternoon. He's got to be at work right now. It's got to be the afternoon out there.
He's on his break.
He's on his break.
It
We
looks
won,
like he
Dirk.
missed the game.
Dirk,
It was
we
a
won.
good one. Worth going back and watching. That was fun.
No
Yeah.
cigars tonight, but
Phoenix
we
is
won.
gonna be fun on Wednesday. That's a really good test. That's probably the most balanced team in the league, right up there with you.
with me.
With you, the Boston Celtics.
You guys, with you, Jimmy. I love it. I love these West Coast games. I love the competition. I love seeing these teams that you don't get to see that often. I think Phoenix is great, because they're just fun and they've got a lot of talent. And it's a fun team to play against. So that should be good.
Phoenix is great.
Rob-
Durant versus what's his name?
Yeah.
there?
To go back to that Rob conversation quick though, I see a path. Jimmy
Okay.
threw out the Warriors game. They're practicing on Friday, so if he can squeeze in a full session there, maybe that makes sense right before the
my
Warriors
sources.
game.
You got some?
Maybe I do.
I'm going to
maybe I
say
don't.
this regarding Rob. I know I was kind of joking that he might play tonight, though I didn't think it was possible. I read Jared's article today in The Athletic where he did talk to some players about kind of how Rob looks. And, without really mincing any words, they're like, he looks pretty good. But literally 2 trips down the floor, and he's absolutely exhausted.
Winded.
It sounds honestly like he's in everyman shape right now. Not even not even close to athlete shape. Kind of like he's
Damn.
January 2nd. Okay, I'm gonna start working out. I'm gonna commit this time.
He's got the dad bod?
This time it sticks. I'm gonna be great in 3 months. I'm gonna be awesome. That kind of seems where Rob is in his kind of overall conditioning right now. There was one period that described in that he literally made a couple good plays up and down the court. Then they blew a whistle because they were playing for a couple minutes straight, and they looked over and Rob was on the floor, panting, trying to catch his breath. So when we're talking about him playing and even playing in short stints, I actually don't know that he can right now, just the way it's being described, last even 3 consecutive minutes of NBA action without having to be pulled
It
out
could
of the
be
game.
rough.
So
And we've seen him like that before, right?
We've seen him like that before. I think it could take a while for him to get in shape. I don't think he should be scrimmaging. I think he should just literally be doing Peloton
On the
and,
treadmill?
On the treadmill, he's just gotta,
Bike watch.
we need bike watch with Rob. He's got.
Well, you don't think he can
Put
go
him
in there
in
and
the
give you
pool with
15
those-
minutes, John?
I honestly don't think he can get up and down the court more than 3 possessions. The way it's described right now is he's just sucking wind. So he's got a long way to go before he gets into game shape. I really don't think he could give you more than. I think what you would get out of him is strategic, missed trips up and down. He'd be a lot of free throw to free throw sort of trips, free throw line to free throw line. I don't know. He'd make it all the way back. He might see the team going in transition and be like, "You guys got it, right?"
No, this is what we've talked about, John. This is
maybe
really the
not
only
some
thing.
great closeouts. He might rely on a few Cornet contests rather than getting all the way out to the 3-point line. You would see him.
Imagine Rob pulls out the cornet contest.
You would see him cut some serious corners in the early going because it does not sound like he's got the wind. But who cares? The point is that he's healthy. I don't care when it happens.
They're gonna have to do it at some point, and it's gonna disrupt them to some degree because everything else is rolling so great right now.
Oh, JB. Who's JB? Is he on the team?
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Chat's going crazy. Chat's going crazy. They said, "Oh, talk about Jalen Brown. Talk about Jalen Brown." Okay.
Okay, you guys go.
We did.
We did.
We did.
Off the top.
We did.
Earlier we did.
We did. Back-to-back games without a turnover is really impressive.
We did. We did.
We did.
We
Like,
did.
Especially with how aggressive he's being. And, this is the kind of game, I thought he opened up things. Going at the interior, forcing the fouls
Dirk,
on
you
Caboclo.
just got here, buddy.
Yeah,
You
Dirk.
just got here.
How's
Can't say it.
yeah.
Easy, pal. Easy,
not
pal.
true.
Just got here.
0 mentions. He'll have to watch the tape back. Watch the tape. Watch
Roll
the
it
tape.
back.
We always watch the tape. See if we can do better. See if we can do.
You can
differently.
you can actually go in the transcript and you do Control F, just plug in Jalen.
Too
It'll probably be John's Jalen, Jaylin, but
It's
be
too
in
late
there.
to change the offense at this point in the season. That's all I have to say. Where's my man Bill Belichick?
Yeah, we are.
You're killing me, Jimmy. We're
locked-
winding down.
We're locked in. So we will wrap it. We got 3 sponsors. We got all of those in there. We really hope that you guys support
Who's
our
joining
sponsors.
us?
Can I just say one
hope-
thing? It's time to check out Tom Brady right now. He's about to pull off a fourth quarter win, it looks like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, there's 46 seconds left, and they're on the 20, and they're down
right.
6.
Let's go see it.
So that's my guy. Everybody knows that.
Fine. Let's go watch Tom Brady. Everyone go watch Tom Brady.
Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can do.
By the way, Jimmy, did my Tom Brady tweet start to get traction a few weeks later? It certainly did.
It's a pie in the sky dream that's never gonna happen.
I haven't seen that tweet. You'll have to text it to me, John.
It's happening.
He had a dream that Tom Brady was.
He had a
gonna
dream?
win the
It was
Patriots.
more than a dream. It was when Brady started saying nice things about Bill Belichick, and all of a sudden I was like, he's coming. I was like, it's happening.
Well,
It's not
let's see what
happening.
happens
And
with
Patriots
fan
fans don't deserve it to happen. So it's definitely not. Gonna
Well,
happen.
Jimmy.
Doesn't he want to win? Doesn't he want to end his career on like
Jimmy,
a championship
holding
team?
on to hate is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, okay? There's no reason here to harbor any sort of animosity for either side. Let's just move past it. Get back together here. Let's heal. And let's move forward, okay?
I think he'll be in San Fran, though.
Yeah. I think I'm going to San Fran with him. We're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring one back to Candlestick Park.
Yeah. Good night, guys. We're gonna wrap it up. We will see you.
We'll see you
at least Bobby
Wednesday.
and I will see you on Wednesday. And then throughout the West Coast trip, as always, there will always be a Garden Report Postgame Show, regardless of time, regardless of location, regardless of Wi-Fi.
Regardless
we will find a way.
Score outcome.
We will battle through. Okay. Good night,
Yeah,
everybody.
get the Wi-Fi connection fixed there, John.
Whatever.
Hate to see it.
Bye.